Hey guys, karibuni sana. Welcome. Join and tag and share. I have Catherine here. Welcome guys. Let me share this the video here. Let me share the video. Options. Hey guys. I think I'm gonna share on the phone here. I think it's much easier. Share to group. Okay. Karibuni, tag and share guys, and let us know where you are logging in from. Thank you guys for tuning to the Prudential Show. I have my guest here. We're about to get started. So if you can share this video, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, I think I'm done sharing the video so you can get started here. All right. Thank you guys for joining. If you come in, let us know where you are logging in from.
Let me share as well.
Karibuni sana. Yeah, come George, thank you so much for joining. Wairimu Kemani, my friend from Seattle, Washington. I hope you're staying, I hope you're okay, having all that's going on in Seattle. But good to see you though. Modoni Karaoke, thank you so much. Cyprian Tony K, thank you for joining. Joyce Thuo, Asante Sana. Liz Mui, Elutuki, thank you guys. And Wanja Jane, thank you guys for joining. I think we have a good quorum here. We're going to get started. I'll give Catherine a few more minutes so she can get ready. With,
I'm good. I was just sharing the broadcast.
Are you done sharing?
Yes, I am.
All righty, good. You look good, Catherine.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you. I thought, like, did she cancel the Prudential? What's going on?
No. Actually, I've been waiting for you. I thought I was gonna hear from you. And
yeah, I was kind of worried about you. Yeah.
No, yes, I was running around and I did it. And I got the kids and made dinner, got them to eat, then browsed my notes and did a couple things, and then So, but I thought I was gonna hear from you, but I was planning to be on here.
Yeah, and my wife was like, give her time because she has kids, she has to get up from work, pick them up, go cook, put them to bed. So she'll be here. Don't worry about it. Yeah, because I was kind of worried about a little bit. Yeah, but it's so good to see you. For you guys who are joining for the first time, my name is George Bogwa. I am the host of the Prudential Show. I have my guest from Rocco County, just on my backyard here, not too far from where I am right now. She is a friend to the show. She has been here. Was it about 2 years ago?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, and she wears so many hats. She's a very instrumental lady when it comes to the community. She's a leader, community organizer. She's also the president of the Queen's Night Ministry. So I cannot, wait to hear from her. So I'm gonna give you this time so you can tell the viewers who don't know, who are watching here for the first time, your names, where you're from, what you do for a living, in your areas of expertise, so we can get started with our topic tonight about the retirement plan and 401k, 529, and the IBC concept that we talked about last week. So it's your turn now. You can give introduction.
First of all, George, thank you so much for having me back. Thank you for all that you do for the community, and this is a great topic that you have brought on. I like the idea of discussing things openly because the Bible says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge," and so you are always educating the community, and so I thank you for that, and thank you for having me. So as you heard, my name is Catherine. I usually call myself Catherine Gaduka Franklin. Gaduka is my husband. Gaduka Franklin is my husband. And so I reside here in the DFW Metroplex. By profession, I'm a CPA, licensed to the state of Texas. I work as a tax director in private equity or private wealth management. My focus is taxation as well as how taxation affects investments. And so I have a dual role: tax preparation, tax review, tax advisory. But privately, I'm a mama, I am a wife. I happen to also be the current president of Queen's Ministry USA. And yes, I also do some consulting on the side through Thrive Consulting. I consult, I coach, I do career coaching. I do different things on the side as time allows. And currently really excited about a blog that I'm working on that I'm launching on my birthday, March 31st. And it's part of what we're discussing today is what is gonna be on that blog and other things as well. So yeah, that is me in a nutshell.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Very impressive. You got quite a very good resume, very impressive. So kudos to you. The reason we are here, we are continuing the conversation about the retirement plan. I brought my first expert here last week, and as I said on the Facebook post today, it brought about thought-provoking arguments and our conversation, if you will. So as I asked the other expert, I want to ask you how important it is to you to have a retirement plan for anybody, whether you're working, employed, self-employment, whether you are, how important it is for somebody to have a retirement plan.
It is really, really important to have a retirement plan. And because in reality, we are all going to have a time when we cannot be as productive. That is life. Yes. That is reality. We all are going to grow old at some point in time. And when you're young, it kind of feels like it is so far away. But the truth of the matter is that it creeps up on you before you know it. So it's really, really important for us to have a retirement plan. And allow me to throw in Bible verses as we go along, because I happen to be in ministry. Yes. And I love what the Bible, and I believe the Bible is full of wisdom, and many of us are believers here, many of us are Christians, and so on Proverbs 6:6, I know I'm the Jesus girl. It talks about the ant, and the Proverbs is talking about that the ant is wise, that during summer it stores and keeps it away for winter. And you see, when you're young, this is our summer, when you are highly productive. You're in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s. So that is your summer. And in this summer is when you store away for the future, when you may not be as productive. So it is really, really important to put something away for the days when you cannot be as productive.
Yeah, that's good. And thank you for sharing those Bible verses. It resonates for sure by what we go through in this life. There's a concern, I would say. Some of us come here when we are 20s, 30s, 40s. I have seen people come to the United States in their 50s. Would you tell us what is the best or what is appropriate age to start the 401k? Is there any age which is too early? And
No.
yes, what is appropriate age?
I think you should start retirement planning from the very beginning when you start working, when you
Yeah.
start earning. And I'll tell you why. Because of a concept called the time value of money. Money today is going to always be more valuable than money tomorrow.
Exactly.
And so that is the concept of the time value of money. Also, because of compounding interest that Mr. Nganga alluded to the last time. Because of compounding interest, your money grows over time. And what that means is this. If you want to retire with a certain amount of money, the sooner you start putting away a portion towards that amount of money, the better. Because the earlier you start, the less you have to put away. You see, retirement doesn't have to be these humongous burden. If you start early, it can actually be it doesn't have to be very expensive. Actually, I love numbers, and I hope, George, you allow me to throw numbers. I love numbers because I say numbers don't lie, okay?
Yes.
You can talk theory, but numbers don't lie. So I love numbers. So let me give you a little calculation here. So if you are a 25-year-old, okay?
Yes.
You get out, you get your degree and you get out to work, and you're a 25-year-old kid. And let me see if I had written it down already or whether I have to pull it together. So if you're a 25-year-old kid and you put away $500 a month, or not even $500, $200 a month at age 65, and let's give it a good 8% growth rate, which the market will return an 8% growth rate on average. Your $200 by age 65, I'm just talking about $200, will be $798,000.
Oh my God. That is a lot of money.
$200.
Yeah.
$200.
And you know what is interesting, Catherine? Is like $100 per paycheck.
It is. It is $100 per paycheck.
Yes.
Most young people can afford $100. When you get that degree and you get out, you can afford $100 per paycheck. And and then the other thing is that, let's say, and this is where the time value of money. So let's call that $700,000. Let's say you wait till you're 35. So you're hanging out, you're buying a nice car, you're doing all these things. You're like, retirement can wait. So you decide to wait till you're 35. Let's see how much you have to save to make the same $700,000. So you're 35 years old and you decide to wait. You probably would need to save almost $500 a month for you to have the same $700,000. So look at that. That is more than double because you waited 10 years. So I think that as soon as you get out of the door, even when you're in college, if you can, and if you're making extra money, you can put away $100. And that's not a lot of money.
Yeah. And Catherine, you know the cost of living now, it's all-time high. It's very expensive. No matter where you live, whether you're in New York, whether you're in Texas, whether you're in Seattle, the cost of living is very expensive. Can you give us maybe one or two tips on the nuggets? How do we do to leverage the retirement that we are saving right now? Maybe a second job. And if you can put like a percentage on there when you give us those nuggets, maybe put 7% or 8%, or even, look for an employer who is matching your 401k. What are some of the ways you can do to leverage?
I think starting with a vision, I think that is a critical thing. You need to decide how much you need at retirement. What is retirement for you? Now, I'll tell you, George, I personally don't believe in the retirement where you quit forever, no working forever again. I don't believe in that. And I'll tell you I don't believe in that because my father died at 77 years old. And he left his job and he had an appendicitis situation. And that's what that busted. And let's just say the care was not sufficient and he ended up passing away, but he was working. I think it's important to have to have a reason to wake up and to go, to have purpose, to go out, to have in Kikuyu, I would say, haduha koroka, something
Yes.
that allows you to get out and
Yeah.
get out of the house. So personally, I don't believe in retirement, but this is what I believe in. I want, at a certain age, I would like to not be working for money because I need it. I would like to work because I love work, because work is fulfilling. So what my desire would be that at a certain age, I would have enough funds that would keep me a lifetime, but I would continue working because I like it. So in terms of, regardless of what your concept is, whether you want to just completely quit working or whether you just want to have a certain amount of money at a certain age, you need to know what that number is. That's the starting point. Begin with the end in mind. When you have that number, then you can work backwards. So let's say, for example, at 65, you want to have $2.4 million. Let's say. I'm just going to throw that, because right now they're saying people around our age, 40 something, you need about $2.4 million to retire comfortably so that you can be able to live off of the earnings of that money and it to last your lifetime, right? So if we looked at $2.4 million and your gain, let's do numbers. Let's put number to paper. So George, how old are you? How old are you?
Oh my God! Don't put me on a blast. let's just say I'm on the 4th floor. Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I would not have. Okay, sorry. I would have.
I think actually you're the same age, me and you.
You
Yeah.
seem young. I would have honestly have pegged you in the late 30s. Okay, let's say you're a 40-year-old person. Okay, and you want to have a certain amount of money at 65, whether or not you're gonna quit, but you want to have that amount of money.
Yeah.
And so if you want to have about, let's call it 2 million for right now. If you want to have 2 million, so let's do some numbers here. If you put away, you need to put away roughly about $2,000 a month.
Oh my God.
And so $2,000 a month. But this is the thing. But that's because, we all started later. If we had started at 25, we would have been needing to put away $500. But so let's say you need to put $2,000 away. The reason why you need to know the number is that then it tells you how much you need to put away. So then you can now look at your resources and say, do I need to get an extra gig on the side? Do I need to cut back on my lifestyle? Do I need to grow? Do I need to shift careers so that I can make more money, so that I can be able to put this money away? What do I need to do? Right? So that's the most important thing, is that when you know what you're looking for, when you know how much you're working towards, then you can work backwards. You know what I mean? And you can now figure out, what does that mean today? Okay. But let's say, and this is the thing, don't give up because it's $2,000. So let's say, okay, I don't have $2,000, but I can put away $500 today. But I put away $500 and I'm looking, and I'm 40 years old, put away $500. By the time I'm age 65, at an 8% growth rate, which really and truly 8% is a good average for the market that the market is bringing at this point. You're looking at roughly about $500,000 is what you would have, right? So you're not at zero, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, Lillian says those are the lessons we need to share with our children. Exactly. You know what? When you see that, especially, you who have kids that are graduating from college, and, tell them, instead of buying the BMW, or you can buy the BMW, so long as you make sure you are putting away that $200, you're putting away that $500 towards your later years. Yeah. So yeah, and that's the thing. Start somewhere, because this is the thing. Right now you may afford 500, but you know what? You could, in the meantime, you can work out. Okay, I can shift careers. I can get a promotion, and when I get a promotion, I'm gonna put the excess money towards my retirement. Just start somewhere. I think that is the most important thing. And the other thing is with it's not just your 401k, and I wanna talk about that. Okay. 401k is a tax advantaged umbrella. Okay, that's what I like to call it. It's an umbrella. What that means is that you can put pre-tax dollars, right? Now, if you are a teacher, it might be 413. If you, depending on the segment you are in, if you're in government, it might be a different number. But the idea is that it's a tax advantaged vehicle that are our umbrella that allows you to put in pre-tax dollars. That means that money goes in before Uncle Sam takes his cut. Okay. Now you might say, I am not employed. I don't have a job. I am a PRN. I do trucking. I'm a business owner. What does that mean for me? Well, you also can have a 401k. It's actually called a solo 401k. And actually, to be honest with you, a solo 401k is a pretty good deal. Okay. And I'll tell you why it's a good deal. Because as an employee, you can only put in about $19,000 if you're under 50. If you're over 50, or I think over 55, you're allowed to do a catch up of another $5,000. So you're looking at about maybe $23,000, $24,000 is what you can put away if you're over 55. But if you are a 401 solo plan, you're able to put 25% of your profit, 25% of your profit up to $56,000. In 2020, it's $56,000. And you have also a $5,000 catch up. So you also have, that makes it $63,000. What does that mean? So if I made $100,000 in profit, I can do 25% of that $100,000, and I can put that 25% pre-tax, meaning that I would not pay FICA. I will not pay self-employment tax on it. Neither am I going to pay the income tax on it, right? So that money goes in pre-tax dollars, and the benefit of that is that you're not paying. You're doing what you call tax deferral. Okay, you're deferring the taxes, and then that money also grows tax-free up until you take the money out. You're not required to take the money out until you're 70 and a half. And at that point, then you have required distributions. So when you get a distribution, that is when you pay the taxes on the money that's coming out. You pay the taxes on what is coming out, at that point. So what am I going to? Yeah. So my point is, if you're a solo practice, if you are a business person, you have great advantages. If you make $200,000 that year, you can put 50 grand away, and this is the thing. And also in this solo 401ks, one of the benefits is that you can actually do a self-directed 401k. What does that mean? It means that you get to determine where you invest that money. So you are a person who is a self-employed person. If you set up a self-directed 401k, there is a methodology on how you can be able to invest that money, and you can invest it in business, you can invest it in land, you can invest it in whatever you want to invest it in. It doesn't have to be in the stock market. So yes, and I hope that kind of covers the umbrella of the tax the 401k type of umbrella. Now, I know you're going to ask me about a Roth IRA, so let me just go ahead and tell you about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So a Roth IRA is also another tax advantaged vehicle. The only difference with a Roth is that the money you put in post-tax dollars, as in Uncle Sam has taken his money, his cut out of your paycheck, and out of what is left, you can put money into a Roth IRA. Now, you can put up to $6,000 if you're under the age of 50. If you're over the age of 50, you can put $7,000. Now, if you're married, you can actually put $6,000 for yourself and $6,000 for your spouse, so long as they have $6,000 in earned income, right? So, and that means as a family, you can put away $12,000. The beauty of a Roth IRA, and that's why a lot of people say, if you can do your Roth, use it, is that in a Roth IRA, once you put those post-tax dollars, that money is growing tax-free. It comes out tax-free. If you're able to wait till, so long as you are so long as the money is in the fund for at least 5 years, you can take it out tax-free. Now, if you take it out before you're 59 and a half, then there's a 10% penalty for early withdrawal. But if you wait till past 59 and a half, you can take that money out tax-free. So that is actually what is comparable to a life insurance policy. You know how they say like life insurance policy, the money grows tax-free? You're doing the same thing with a Roth IRA. Now, they also have an option of what they call a Roth 401k, which basically is an opportunity to roll out your 401k from like a regular 401k into a Roth. And what that means is that you would need to pay the taxes up front. So let's say you were rolling $100,000, you would pay the taxes on that $100,000, and now it would now function as a Roth, kind of like a Roth IRA from that point on, and the money would grow tax-free and you would be able to pull it out tax-free. Now, depending on the tax situation, and that's where you need to, I personally think that it's important to have a tax advisor, a financial advisor who is not selling you products. Because a tax advisor who doesn't sell you products is able to give you a plan that's objective, okay? And it's looking at your whole financial situation and saying, okay, what makes sense? Because at the end of the day, this is your money and this is your life and this is your financial future. Therefore, it needs to fit what you want, not just a product, right? And so, yeah, so that is where a Roth, and so what you can do the calculations to see, does it make sense to roll into a Roth IRA, a Roth 401k as opposed to using a regular 401k. And I at some point in time, I think there are some employers that were offering a Roth 401k. I don't know how popular those are, but those got introduced a few years ago.
It's amazing how exquisite you are, and I don't know how to, you're very, very, very good. And I appreciate for you giving the numbers, the analogies. I think it's making a lot of sense, even differentiating between like if you started saving when you're 25, 35, and 40. And I have a follow-up questions there. How much can you save per year if you're saving for 401k? Number two, you say that Roth IRA, it's pre-tax dollar, right? It's post, right? So does that mean you get taxed twice? Because if it's post,
you don't get taxed twice. What happens is that, so let's say, for example, I make $50,000 this year. So if I use a regular 401k, I'm putting in my money pre-tax. That means if I decide to put $5,000 into let's say $10,000 into my 401k, or into a traditional IRA, and a traditional IRA also acts the same as a 401k, it's pre-tax dollars. So if I put $10,000 into a 401k or a traditional traditional IRA, then what would happen is that I would pay taxes on $40,000, right? And that means that includes FICA. They would not take FICA out of it. They would not take income tax out of it. Okay, so I would pay taxes on $40,000 that year, and $10,000 would go into my savings vehicle. Okay, now in a Roth, I can't put $10,000. To say I can put $6,000. So if I made $50,000, I would get taxed on the $50,000. So let's say you are at $50,000, maybe you're at a 15% tax bracket. Let's say call it a 20% tax bracket, and so well, how much is that? That's about 10 grand. So you now have, let's say 10 grand is taken away in taxes. You now have $40,000 that is your money. So when you put the money into your Roth, you're taking $6,000 out of the $40,000 that's your money. And that's what you're putting into the Roth. Now that money never gets taxed. You will be able to grow that $6,000. So you put $6,000 in 2020, $6,000 in 2021, $6,000 in 2022. I mean, in 10 years, you can put $60,000. That money is going to grow and you'll be able to take it out tax-free. And that's why actually they say that most of the financial advisors would tell you, get the 401k match. The second thing you should do is get a Roth. It's a highly tax advantaged vehicle.
Can you have two, 401k and Roth IRA?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So long as you put the $6,000, yes, it's allowed.
Okay, and let's get practical here. Which one would you prefer? If I come, me as George, and come to you, Catherine, I say, hey, I got a job. I'm getting like 80,000 a year, and my company is matching about a dollar for a dollar. If I put 5%, would you advise me to do a Roth IRA or 401k?
I would tell you, well, first of all, it depends on what's your budget for investment. But let's say you told me that you had, let's say if you had like about $20,000 that you thought you wanted to put away.
Yeah.
You could put get the 5%. The 5% of 80,000 is how much? 5% of 80,000.
5% of 80 is 4,000, huh?
No,
5 divided by 100 times 80.
So 80K.
Let's do the math here. We're doing the math today.
Yes, we're going to do the numbers because I told you numbers don't lie.
4,000, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what did I do? Times. Okay, yeah, so it's $4 grand. So
4 grand, okay.
So if you had $20,000 to put away, you could put $4,000 in, get the match, get the match in that, put the 6,000 into a Roth, and now the 10,000 that you have left, you can actually put into your 401k. That's an option. Or alternatively, you can invest it outside of the tax advantage umbrella. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now, if you are saying you and your spouse are together, you can also say, hey, you know what? Put another 6,000 to cover your spouse. Okay, it would be under her name, but you still would have, if as a family you would need to invest 20 grand, you would have the 6,000 under your spouse, 6,000 under you. You'd put your 4,000 under your 401k. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but 401k is 18,000. But somebody here is asking, they just want to be sure whether it's 6,000 a year.
No, the Roth is $6,000 a year. That's the Roth.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can put up to $19,000 into your 401k.
Okay.
Now, if you don't like the investments in your 401k and do not feel comfortable, if you like your 401k management company, like the 401k management company for us is Mass Mutual, and it provides a lot of different funds. I am very happy with with them. So you can put the entire, you can say, put $6,000 in your Roth, and then the different 16,000, which you can put into your 401k, you can put in your 401k.
Yeah, and can you give advice for those people who want to retire in Kenya? What would you advise them? Like Roth IRA, 401k, or even like just investing money in Kenya, either by real estate, buying properties? Like, what would you advise them?
I think that invest in what you know, invest in what you're willing to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because the problem, the main thing is that most people want to say, tell me what to do with my money. But at the end of the day, it is your money. And the idea of never learning anything and depending on somebody else to learn it for you is not a good idea. It's not a good way of managing your money. You need to have a level of understanding. So I think that you need to invest in that which you understand very well. Now, should you invest here or Kenya? But the one thing I would definitely say, if you have a 401k match, why would you leave the money? That is 100% return on your money. Nobody is giving you 100% return on your money, even Kenya, where we think that returns are out of this world, which they're not. Actually, they're not necessarily out of this world, and we'll talk about that.
Yes.
So even if unless it's an investment in heaven, you are not going to be getting 100% return on anything instantaneously. So get that 401k match. And this is the thing, most people have found that by the time they were going home, the thing that they could grab on to that was cash for them was that 401k. And it's also a lot of people actually move back home and leave that 401k. You can roll it into an IRA, which is easier for you to manage, outside of your employer's 401k, fund. And basically keep it as a nest egg. Sometimes you might be in Kenya and need to leave suddenly, or you realize maybe you didn't like the idea, it's not working out, and you need to move back, and you have those funds to help you. So I don't think you should entirely. I also believe in diversification. Why would I put all my eggs in Kenya? What if Kenya burns tomorrow? I don't know. I mean, what if that? And this is the thing. Every investment has risk. So don't let anybody tell you that there's no risk. Even insurance companies go bankrupt. Okay.
Yes.
So everything has risk. And the rule of investment is this: the higher the risk, the higher the return. Okay. The lower the risk, the lower the return. It has an inverse relationship, right? So even Kenya has a risk, a high risk, because you could buy land and it get grabbed and you never get any money. Or you could send somebody money to buy you land and they cool on the money. So this idea that there are investments that don't have risk is a fallacy. All investments have risk. The issue is, what is your risk tolerance? That's what it boils down to. What can you invest in and sleep at night? Okay. If you can't sleep at night when your money is in the stock market, then please don't put it in the stock market. Okay. If you need to put it in land and that's what's going to make you sleep, then put it there. So there are many factors for somebody to say. So it's not a one size fits all. I think this is a person by person decision. And so there's no one size fits all advice. I know we'd like to make it generalized. It also depends on, like, where do you want to retire? When do you want to retire? You might say you want to move back to Kenya, but you want to move back to Kenya when you're 70 years old. That makes a difference if you're going to be here for some time and you're only going to move back to Kenya when you're 70. Or if you're going to move back to Kenya, but you still want to come back for your health care. Okay. If you're going to be coming back for your health care, you need to factor that in. So this is going to be, there's no one size fits all, is what I would say. But invest in what allows you to sleep at night.
Yeah, and that's a very good point you're talking, because some people are very risk averse. They don't want to put their money in Kenya because of the political status. They don't want to put there's so much uncertainty right now. Another argument, people say, I don't want to invest in 401k. I'm going to buy a piece of land. Land does not depreciate. So it's going to, by the time I retire, it's going to be maybe 10 times what I bought it. So some people, they, prefer going that route. What would you tell them?
That is true. The main thing about land as an investment vehicle, the only thing is that land has no income. Therefore, the point in which that you decide you need the money, you're going to have to sell the land. That's the one thing that is different about land as an investment vehicle. And that is for everybody. That is for everybody. So sometimes what we think is a 10 times return may not necessarily factor out to 10 times. Does that make sense? In the sense that when you consider there's an opportunity cost as well. So if I take my now, okay, I do want to say that land in Kenya, bought in the right place, at the right price, at the right time, can be a pretty good vehicle. Not all land, not everywhere, because some land is very risky. Let's face it, So bought at the right time, and that's why I'm going back to your ability. What do you know? What can you understand, right? There are people who have the advantage and the benefit of being able to buy land from people they know, or people who they're familiar with, and can give them a really good, give them great advice, and it's secure, right? Versus just buying land willy-nilly and thinking that you have a decent lot and finding that you really don't have a decent lot, So that's the thing. So are you willing to learn enough about land and invest your time in understanding land as an investment vehicle? That's what it boils down to. If you're willing to do that, then by all means, by all means, do that.
Yeah, I think we have some very good points there. John is saying diversify your portfolio. That's very true. And there's a question here. If you want to answer that question, the advantage of rolling 401k to Roth IRA, how would you say?
The main thing that would make somebody roll a 401k into a Roth is because you want to grow the money tax-free. And especially, let's say, for example, you have a year of low tax, right? Let's say, for example, it's a year you had been laid off. And you are, so on that year, you are low tax bracket. That might be a good year to roll out. And you say, let's say you have a 401k with an old employer. It might be a good time to roll out your money into a Roth, because maybe that year you're at a 20% tax bracket, versus years that you're at 35% tax bracket. So you can pay the taxes because you're going to pay these taxes at some point in time. So it's just a matter of choosing when you want to pay those taxes. And so you may choose to pay taxes at that point. And if you're in a low bracket year, yes. So that's what I would say. There's somebody who had said on here that if you're in a high tax bracket, yes. The reason why a lot of people, yes, the Mama Shiko, yes. The reason why a lot of people use like a 401k is because, yes, when they're in their working years, they're in a higher tax bracket. By the time they start taking the distributions out of their 401k, they're going to be in a lower tax bracket. That's absolutely true. So if you're in a 30-something percent tax bracket, and then you turn around and you're 70 and a half, or you don't have any other income, you're pulling out $20,000. At that point, you're at a 15% tax bracket, So you are going to pay a lot less taxes than what you'd have paid initially. So yes, that is definitely one of the reasons why it's a good balance to balance between a 401k and a Roth.
Yeah, and you got a compliment there. You say a lot of wisdom in one head. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is Jonah on Dear Key. Let's switch gears a little bit to something that we call the college fund, the saving fund, 529. If you just want to expound just a little bit, what is it before we can get in the nitty gritty? What is 529 fund, college saving fund?
Actually, let me say something right before we jump into that, because we touched on Kenya as an investment vehicle.
Yeah.
It's really important. One of the things that I think we are making a mistake as diaspora is assuming that Kenya, that Kenya doesn't have risk, or two, assuming that we only get a big return. Do the calculation what the return on investment is. Because one of the things you will find, for example, if I take 130,000 and go buy an apartment in Westlands and expect to get rent, when you really do the calculation on the return on investment, it might be lower than the stock market here. So it's important to do the return on investment calculation. And yes, the idea of diversifying your portfolio is a good thing. Now you don't want to be so diversified that you're solely, you're so that you don't have any advantage because you're so diversified. Find 2 or 3 things that you can learn, that you can understand, and invest in them so that you have a nice diversification. But looking at your risk, looking at your return, but don't assume that Kenya is just a return, because I think that's where we in diaspora are making a mistake. And when you calculate that return on investment, consider that some of the costs of investment, is that air ticket to go to Kenya? Is that relative tax where you have to send somebody extra money so that they can do something for you? Okay, factor out those costs when you're calculating your return on investment, so that you're doing a true comparison in deciding where should I put my money. Okay.
Yeah. Right. And that's the risk averse we are talking about. There are some people who really they can just go buy like 10 acres for 350. I personally don't think I can do that. I know the return on investment of what Jen here, like she's saying, they bought it for 350. Now they're selling at 3 million. Good for them, but not everybody can do that. Not everybody want to take that kind of a risk, but good for them. But as you say, how do you say if you have to compare that with 401k?
I think that if okay, it goes back to you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. Now,
Exactly. Yeah.
if you have, this is the thing I would say, and that's what you will find is that anybody who you need to have a portfolio that you, when you're managing your portfolio of investments, you want to be well diversified, because this is what we fail to realize. I can put $350,000 in a piece of land and it gets grabbed tomorrow and I end up at zero. So if I have $350,000, do I want to put it all in a piece of land? Personally, I would not. Okay. If I have $350,000 and I feel very comfortable about buying land, I might put $100,000 in land and then 250 diversify where I put that money. Now, if you are somebody who has $1 million and you want to put $350,000 into land, yes, that's okay, because that's only a third of your portfolio. So because the bottom line is that everything has risk. Everything has risk, and the idea that there are some investments that don't have risk is a fallacy.
Yes. That's good. I think you're giving us a lot of wisdom here and a lot of topics. And one of the listeners here, they're saying, John Ondieki is saying he has several pieces of land in Kenya. I would have done it differently if I listened to this before. Sure, because some of the things I think we lack how to diversify our portfolio. And I think what I've seen most Kenyans, we just wing it. We don't look for the professionals. I've done that before. I've done mistakes. Like with either.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we wing it. And that's why I'm saying begin with the end in mind. What do you really want? At 65, at 70, what is the vision? What do you really want? So that even as you're putting together your portfolio, you're doing it because you have a particular end in mind, right? And so you have a plan. So you might say, you know what, I'm going to buy this land, I'm going to sell it in 10 years. In 10 years, I'm then going to take that money and do X, create a plan, but that plan needs to, because you have an end goal in mind.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to say here, not everybody who is here in US want to retire in Kenya. Some people, when they're 65, they're not going to be able to cope with that lifestyle, So I just want to stress that, because not everybody is interested with the real estate, buying all this land back home. Some people are very comfortable here. They just want to make a living here and just retire comfortably in the US.
I think it is important to make, and I say that often, I said this the last time you had me on, is that it's important to make that decision. It's a very big decision.
Yeah.
It's a decision that you need to make with a very clear head. You need to do your research, you need to do some soul searching and make a decision, because that decision of where you want your latter years to be, then starts to shape what you do and how you do things, So for example, I might think, okay, you know what? I'm buying a house. I want to pay it off at a certain age. Then I'll downsize and I'll take some of that equity that I have in that home. I'll put some in a house and I'll have some of it towards my retirement, for example. So that might be so that, let's say, for example, the person who has the 350,000, I may take some and say, okay, I'm going to live on this and then I'm going to do this. I may have a very different direction because I intend to live here. Whereas somebody else, when you make that decision, it starts to shape your life. It shapes what you do. It shapes how you invest, because your life looks different. But this is the other thing, as you're making that decision, the challenge that I see coming is this: most of us have assumed that we are going home without really counting the cost and really determining this assumption that the cost of living in Kenya is going to be lower might not necessarily turn out true. And I'll tell you why. If I move to a place, if I move to Nairobi, or if I move to a nice area and I have to think about healthcare. No matter where I live in Kenya, I have to think about healthcare. At 70 years old, you have to think about your own healthcare. That means that, you know what, the cost of healthcare is not cheap even in Kenya. It's not. There's a cost factor, right? If I want to be coming here for my healthcare, I have to factor in that air ticket to get out here. So those are some of the things that you have to think about. So the idea, most of us think that I'm gonna be over there in Shags and I'll be fine. But the truth of the matter is that you're gonna live here till you're 65 years old and you think you're gonna be okay. Maybe you won't be. I don't want that kind of adjustment. It might just kill me. Just saying, you know. So,
yeah.
And yeah.
And it's true how you're saying. Try to go buy the house you're living right now in Kenya. I don't even know how much it is. It's crazy. So thank God for America. We can be able to live where we live and I can afford what you can afford here, because a house like what we're living here in Kenya is probably like 30, 40 million. We can afford that. It's very expensive, and that's the truth of the matter. But you know,
and if you're going to retire in Kenya, it's very important to do the numbers. Very important to do the numbers, because I think a lot of people are assuming that I can take 100,000 and go to Kenya with it. If you go to Kenya with 100,000 right now, I could not. I mean, you need a place to live. You need to educate your children. I mean, and that's the thing. You need to do the numbers. Numbers don't lie. It's okay to you make a decision where you want to retire, but no matter what you decide, do the numbers so that you're not making a decision and then get a shock when you finally get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can we jump to 529? Or you wanna?
Okay, yes. Now 529. Yes. No. Yes. Modoni says yes. It doesn't matter. Kenya is okay. Just do the numbers. That's all I'm saying. Do the numbers so that you are making an informed decision, right? All right. So now jumping into 529. Of course, many of us have children, and those children are going to be going to college. Actually, I just did this a week ago.
Give us a number.
I did it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. The reason I did this is it hit me. Our son will be 10 next year. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I don't know how we got here. And this is the thing. These kids creep up on us. I mean, before you know it, they're of age to go to college. And so I actually started looking at the numbers. And so a 529 plan is kind of like a Roth IRA. It basically, okay, in the sense that it is post-tax dollars. You're putting post-tax dollars, and it's a vehicle that allows you to save for college. Now, there are some little tweaks and tweaks in there in the sense that if you set, usually it's for a particular beneficiary, and you can move money from one beneficiary to another, but it has to be used for education. If it's not used for education, then there's a penalty if you take out the money. Now, so you can set up a 529 with your bank, with investment advisors, investment advisors. Now, but I want to share something with you that I actually was researching for our own family, and that is because of the 529 plans, many states have set up what you call tomorrow funds. And the thing about these funds is that they lock in tuition rates at the day when you get into the fund. And that is very critical because right now, education is growing. The cost of education is growing at about 5% per year. So if you are thinking that so let's say, for example, if tuition today in an average college in the state of Texas is 10 grand. By the time my baby is going to school in 10 years, think about a growth of 5% per annum. I mean, we're going to be talking about maybe 40 grand. So sometimes you might be putting money away, but your growth rate is not even going to keep up. It's going to barely keep up with the growth of tuition. So another alternative is this, what they call the tomorrow funds. And Texas has one called the Texas Tuition Promise Fund. And what it does, it locks in tuition today. So what you do is you buy units for education based on today's rates of tuition. So let's say, for example, and we're going to do an example because I want you to really understand it. I think this is going to be very helpful for a lot of families. And you might say, and I know later on you're going to ask me the question of whether you should put money into a 401k or put money towards education. I think it varies. I think it depends on where you are. I think if you're young enough, and you intend to educate your children, you intend to help them to get through college, then I think it is worthwhile, especially if you're locking in that tuition right now and you're able to do it in a way that doesn't necessarily completely take you away from saving for retirement, right? So in this Texas Tuition Promise Fund, so let's say, for example, a school like Texas Tech, right? Texas Tech is your mid-range, so it's not your Austin or College Station, and it's not your
Rice.
It's a good mid-range university. So these funds are set up for kids that are going to a state school. Okay, so now if you don't go to a state school, or if you go out of state, then they give you the equivalent of that money to put towards the tuition of where you're going to go to school. But so, for example, how they do this, they have divided these units based on what they call type 1, type 2, or type 3. So, and type 1 is the most expensive. It's about $147 per unit. Type 2 is $105 per unit. And type 3 is about $30 per unit. And what I like about this is that you can put something away, right? Because they have tiered it in a way that you can start somewhere. So if you're looking at, for example, at Texas Tech, the average Texas Tech may be about 80 units a year. Okay, so if I am looking at a kid that's going to go to school for 4 years, but which right now, what a lot of kids are doing, a lot of parents are doing, is helping that kid take college credits, so that, you know what, they by the time they're going in, they've already covered a whole year of college. So they're going in for about 3 years, right? So let's say you're looking at 80 units of Texas Tech, right? And you're targeting a school like Texas Tech. So you need 80 units a year times 3, that's 240 units, right? If you buy type 1 units, that is, let me give you the numbers. So 300 of type 1 units, if your kid is up to 2nd grade, right? Like my kid is in 2nd grade, for $531 a month, you can prepay tuition.
Wow.
And you can prepay tuition. Now, that is not housing, but you can prepay tuition and books. And for $500, and you're going to pay for 10 years. So by the time that kid, so my Jaden is getting into college, his tuition would be paid off if you can put away $500. Actually, that kind of was like, oh, interesting. See, my people perish for lack of knowledge. We have to educate ourselves about these things. So now, if you decided to do a different kind of, let's look at, instead of doing a tier type 1, let's say you do a type 2 type of credit. So for type 2, I think I saw Texas Tech, you would need, let's see. You would need, I think I saw about 131 units, right? So 131 units is what you need per year, okay? So let's take that times 3, and so we at about 400 units is what we would need. So 400 units of type 2 is, it's actually surprising how type 2 or type 1.
She came ready.
I can, no, but actually, this is my folder. This is my own family folder. So yeah. I just happen to have done this recently. So you caught me at the right time.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, so about 500, it's also about a 500 units, $500. $500 would take care of that. No,
Nice.
because type two are gonna be less expensive. So you need $500 because you need 400 units. The other one was 300 units, right? So, but my point is, so about 500 units, if you are able, if your kid is in first grade, is in kindergarten, and you are able to put away $500, and some of these families where you have a double income, you can't, some of these families can afford to do $500. You can prepay tuition and pretty much be done with that. And even if you didn't, the beauty of it is that if you bought a certain amount of units, even if you didn't have everything, at least you would not be going in at zero, you know? And so, and at least you would be able to have something towards it. And what you will find is that you can buy 25 units. You can even decide, okay, you know what, we'll just buy them year by year. Instead of trying to buy 300 at a go, you could just buy 25 units, and maybe that's like $1,000. And then you buy another 50 units as you go. But you have a plan that, you know what, by 10 years, by, you know, so many years, by the time my kid goes to school, I'll have put some money away. So
but you know, that is actually not a lot of money, because if you count that by weekly, it's about $250. It's not too much to be done, right?
It is. Yes, and that's the thing. That's why the time value of money matters.
Yeah.
You see, if your kid is 18 years old and they're going to college next year, and you need 13,000, it's a whole different ballgame than if your kid is in first grade and you have 12 years.
Yes.
That's where the time value of money comes in. And that's why the earlier you start doing these things, the better. You're always going to be ahead of the curve. And I'll tell you what, that's where the people here, the natives here, our Zoom, that's where they beat us. And now let me give you a story. Allow me to share this little story.
Yeah.
When I was in college, before I finished, I was a poor student, okay? But I had this college friend. They had gotten married pretty early. So they were like 23 and 24. The Roth IRA had just been introduced. These kids were just working internship job. The husband had gotten out of school, gotten a $40,000 job. The wife was still doing internship. Do you know these guys were putting money into their Roth IRA, maximizing that for a Roth IRA? And I think at the time it was $2,000 a piece.
Wow.
Putting that $4,000, they were 23 and 24. Remember, this money grows tax free. Actually, I'm like, I would love, that money today is probably a bukus of money. And they started at 23 and 24. But again, my people perish for lack of knowledge. You know, honey, I was a poor student, but I got out. I was not thinking about putting money into a Roth IRA. Honey, I was thinking about having a life, you know?
Yeah.
But, you don't pre-pick the school. So long as it's a Texas school, you don't have to pre-pick. You just adjust the units based on the school they go to. So the fund basically covers any Texas 2-year college or 4-year college.
Yeah, and I was looking the statistic that I gave you the other day, was it yesterday? That the cost of the master's program is $80,000. If you graduate today, the average, that is just the average, is like $80,000. Can you imagine how much our kids will be paying if they don't want to pursue that master's program?
And that is why I'm saying locking in these tuition rates right now is one of the best things we can do. And so, I think because tuition is going up at an exorbitant rate. But this other thing too, I think it is really important to make informed decisions so that, you know, I don't think, you know, kids can afford to willy-nilly just go to college wherever you want and just spend money willy-nilly. I think, you know, doing a cost-benefit analysis of the degree of where you're going to school, does it make sense to go out of state? Is it better to go in state? I mean, doing the cost-benefit analysis, I think, is really important.
Yeah, but Catherine, I think we are finding ourselves in a very, very tough situation. because we come in here as the immigrants here in USA. Should we save for 521, 529 as a 401k? What do we even start? Because we're finding ourselves in a very bad situation because number one, you don't have the knowledge. We came later in the game here in US, and we have all these bills we have to pay. You have about 3 kids. They all need to go to college. You need to retire. Like, can you give us like where we should be able to leverage this? Like, according to you, what is the priority? How should we prioritize all this?
I think that what most financial advisors would tell you that prioritize your retirement over your children's education because they are younger. So depending on where you are, if your kid is going to college next year, forget about that. Put your money towards your retirement. Again, if you're in your 50s, put your money towards your retirement. But I think that if you are younger, in your 30s, when you get those kids, think about these things, So maybe minimize toys and put a little bit of money, into that 529 plan. And actually, I think that's what our family is gonna do now. It's like, okay, fine. We are gonna be weighing between toys and 529 plan.
Yeah.
It's like maybe instead of having a $500 birthday party, you might need to get a $300 birthday party so we can put $200 towards your tuition. Just saying. And so, and then, so I think it depends on where you are. Okay, if you're young enough, it makes sense. Go ahead and prioritize that education because again, because of the rate of how much education is growing, the rate of college rate of tuition, is going up exorbitantly. It is worth locking it in. If you are committed to helping your kid go through school. Now, there are parents who are like, no, that's your business. At 18, you're on your own, okay? Now, if you're that kind of parent, then this doesn't matter. But the thing is, I think that I used to be the person who would be like, honey, I used to work and make it work. So why should I be spending all this money, I watch these American parents, educating their kids.
Yeah.
But I've changed my mind, and I've changed it because if you can help your child not start behind the curveball because they have 50, 100 grand in tuition, in cost, it will be a good thing. But I don't think you should do it at the expense of your retirement. Do you see what I'm saying? So you need to weigh that. Does it make sense? What's your budget? What kind of money? It boils down to your budget.
Yeah. Somebody posted on Facebook that was saying, people keep on saying they are broke. But if you have done your responsibilities, like if you have paid the 529, 401k, you have paid all your bills, your mortgage, it doesn't mean you're broke. You're being responsible. And a few years ago, I used to look at my account and say, I'm broke. But now I have kids. I don't look at it that way. As long as I have, doing all my obligations, to me, I'm wealthy, I just don't determine my wealthy by the checking account or saving account. It's just the money.
Exactly.
You put on all this stuff you're talking about. And thank to you and Patrick and everybody else who coming here and having this conversation, because we didn't have this conversation about 10 years ago when we moved here, like 20 years ago when we moved here. Nobody would tell us. But now, then go to this Facebook Live, you coming here, giving us expertise for free of charge. I don't know. What do you want to say about that?
So no, definitely. I think we need to be intentional to educate ourselves. The one thing that we don't get money education when you go to college. Nobody does give us that. And unfortunately, I don't think most of us didn't come from families where we really got taught about money. So as you get older, you have to do that on your own. It's something that you have to learn. But I think one of the things I think that is important, seeing a financial advisor or a financial planner, if you can put in the money towards getting sitting down with a financial planner who can help you craft a plan, so that you have a clear vision of exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because this is the thing. Excuse me. What it is that again, yeah, Jesus girl. The Bible says that without a vision, my people perish. And what it really, and there's a version that says that without a vision, people throw off restraint. And so, what does that mean? The reason why you are putting money into your 401k, into your children's funds and everything is because you have a clear vision of where you want to be in 10 years, in 20 years. So it restrains what you can do. When you don't have a vision, then you're willy-nilly. So you get money, you throw it around, you buy people extra drinks at the bar, you throw the kid $1,000 birthday party, you overextend, you do all these things because there's no restraint. But once you have a vision, once you are clear on where you want to go, then you have a restraint. There are barriers. You can't do all things. And you now get to make decisions with your dollars. Where do I want to do my dollars? Where can my dollars add value to where I want to go? And that's where what it boils down to, I guess, getting clear, sitting down as a family, husband and wife, or even if you're a mother and her children, if you're a single parent, even as a single person, where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do I want my money to be? Because the reason why we are scattering our money, especially diasporans, is because we are not clear about where we're going and what we want.
Okay, I have some statistics here, and I want to give it to you, and I need your reaction after that. It says here, according to BLS, the average retirement cost is $50,000 a year. Granted, you're going to live about 20 years after you retire. That is 1 million, not considering about the inflation. Do you think this is sustainable if you're going to retire? And what are we supposed to do? Because obviously, nobody is just going to retire with 1 million. And it says here, it's only about 20% they retire without. Actually, say 21% of Americans have no retirement. Additional 10% have less than 5,000 when they retire. I don't think this is sustainable, to be honest with you. So that means we have to leave off the Social Security and all these government funds.
But you know what, George? This is the thing. What does it take if you're a 40-year-old today? How much does it take for you to have $1 million at retirement? It's about $1,000 a month. So that's the thing. If you think of it as a 1 million, it looks like impossible. It looks like you throw your arms and you're like, you know what? Let me just go have an extra drink because that will never happen. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But if you really do the math, and that's why I say numbers don't lie, and that's why I love numbers.
Yeah.
It is actually $1,000. So George, can you not do an extra shift?
I can
get that $1,000.
Yeah,
you can do that.
And I've been working 2 jobs all my life. I've never had one job. Never.
But the thing is, but so now that extra job, you don't just throw away the willy-nillys and you don't buy extra drinks. You make sure you put that 1,000 away, so that because 1,000 at an 8% return is $951,000. Supplement that with some Social Security and you're fine. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? So it's not impossible. Now, of course, the older you are, that's why I'm saying we have to take advantage of the time value of money and compounding interest. That is really critical. That's the only way we get there. Okay. Now, if you're an older person and you're saying, you know what, I'm an older person, but you see, you may not have children obligations. So what can you do? Look at your cost of living right now. Can you reduce your cost of living so that you can put some money towards retirement? What do you have a mortgage? Okay. What kind of mortgage do you have? If you have a $2,000-$3,000 mortgage, maybe you could downsize, get into a mortgage, a smaller mortgage, like a $1,500 mortgage, get into a smaller house. Then now you have some money. You'll be surprised at how much money you can find in your current paycheck. Could you do an extra Uber on the weekends and make an extra $200-$300? And now you have $1,000 and you can now start really pushing as much as possible into your retirement, it's possible. You just have to start somewhere. You need to get clear. You see, the thing is, once you get clear what you want, and you see, without, they say, if you can see it, if you can perceive it, you can achieve it. See, once you perceive that this is what I want, and this, then you can start saying, what will it take? So that might mean that, you know what, you can't be the mama who is on every chama. You can't be going to every baby shower because, girl, you got to do some extra stuff, okay? Girl, you got to do, you figure your life out, so that you are like, okay, I need to do an extra shift every other weekend so I can have some extra money to put away. So it boils down to having a plan. It's not impossible. You just have to have a plan and then augment your life accordingly.
Wow. Final topic here. I don't know how much time you have, but we're almost coming to wind up this program. But before I give you your final thoughts, there's this, I don't know how familiar you are with infinite banking concept. Is a thing that we introduced last week. It brought a lot of conversation here. I've never heard about it before. I've been researching on it. And one thing that came to my mind is it can be an option when it comes to retirement. And this is tying up to the whole life insurance. And what is your thoughts about that? Substituting traditional 401k, Roth IRA, and coming to these, I don't want to say it's non-conventional way of saving for retirement. What would you say? What is your reaction about that concept? I would say it's a pretty new concept. I don't think it has been there.
Not new.
It's not new?
Not new.
Okay.
Not new.
So
it's a different name. It's a different name to what you call permanent life insurance or whole life insurance. It's not new. It's just a different name to the same game.
Yes.
Now, this is the thing. Again, I'm going to go back to invest in what you know. But most middle of the road financial advisors, middle of the road, not everybody, as I said, middle of the road financial advisors, I'll quote Dave Ramsey. Most of them will tell you insurance is not an investment vehicle. Insurance is a very good protective tool. Protect your family, protect your family. It's the biggest part. But it's not necessarily a great tool for investment. And I'll tell you why. Let's do numbers. See, I told you numbers. Don't lie. Let's do numbers. So this is the thing. I actually pulled some numbers together. I even made a point of trying to get some true insurance quotes.
Yeah.
So, and I'm actually going to use something that just came up recently. My company, 401k, is offering a group life insurance. So, and actually needed to do the math to see whether it even makes sense. Personally, I'm not a fan of whole life insurance as an investment vehicle. That's me, okay? I'm not saying that is for everybody, but personally, I'm not a fan. And a lot of investment people will tell you a lot of investment people don't look at insurance. They're not a fan of insurance. Now, does insurance have a place for some people? Yes, some people. But it's a smaller segment. For example, insurance is used in estate planning because you can, like I work for the wealthy. And the wealthy folk, when I say wealthy, I'm talking about hundreds, tens of millions of dollars in net worth, hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth. So those kinds of people, they are looking at an estate that's going to get taxed. So one of the ways they use insurance, permanent insurance, is to shore up taxes, is to have a lump sum amount that can pay estate tax. But they never use that vehicle to grow their wealth. So the problem I have with the infinite banking concept is the idea of telling me that that's the way I should grow my wealth. It's not an efficient way to grow wealth. And I'll tell you, and I'll show you the numbers. Let's take a healthy average, did I say a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old or a 40-year-old, I think. Healthy, relatively healthy. If I buy a whole life, and this one I did just a middle, actually I used the policy that was being offered by the company. Whole life policy, paying $50,000, right? It would cost $19 a week. It's about $80 a month. It would give me a $50,000 death benefit, right? The cash value at 65 would be $13,500. Okay, so $80 a month, cash value $13,500, 10,000 death benefit, right? At 65. Now, if I decide I'm not gonna do a whole life policy, I do want the protection, and I go out and buy a term policy for the same 50,000, I would pay $15 per month, right? So let's take the $80 minus $15, leaves me $65. Let me take that $65 and invest it. Okay. Let's see where we end up. Numbers don't lie. Okay. So I'm a 40-year-old. I take my $65. I'm even going to bring down this rate to 7%.
Okay.
I end up with $52,000. Okay. $52,000. Remember the other cash value was $13,500 versus $52,000. The difference, that means the difference, that $65 difference that I did not let the insurance money invest for me, I took it and invested it for myself, allowed me to make $52,000, which is how much? Almost $40,000 more than what my cash benefit, cash value would be. Okay. Now, can one use that as a way of diversifying their portfolio and saying, okay, I want this thing that is more assured? Because the problem with insurance and whole life insurance is that the rate, especially a whole life, straight up whole life that gives you a guaranteed return, the return is like 2.5% to 3%. I can make 3% in a money market. Straight up.
Yeah.
With $50,000, I can get 3% in a money market. And I know that because usually I put a portion of my 401k into a money market. So, meaning that, and this is the thing. So the idea that, okay, it grows tax-free, I can do that with a Roth. Okay. With a Roth IRA, I can get the same benefit. In terms of borrowing from myself, if I have the lump sum, I can borrow from myself and pay myself 10% interest. You know, so my point is, that's not the only way. What I don't want is this idea that that's the only way. And this is the other thing. The number one investor in the stock market is insurance companies. The reason why they're paying 3% is that they go to the market and make 8% and give you 3% and keep 5%. So why do I want a middleman? Let me go to the stock market myself. So now, if insurance is not a good way to grow wealth, and that's what middle of the road financial advisor would tell you. A Dave Ramsey will tell you buy term, invest the rest. Okay.
Yeah.
Most middle of the road will tell you buy term, invest the rest. Now, are there times when, like for example, there are people who are like, well, but even with doctors, they can do solo 401ks. I mean, now there might be people who are making, let me also say something else. If you're the kind of person who can afford, you've already put money into your 401k, you've already put money into your 529, and now you want to transfer wealth, okay? You're looking to transfer wealth to your children. So you want to get a policy that is going to give you up to 100 years, and you're willing to put $3,000 a month towards it, and you can afford it because you've handled your other business, then yes, that's a one way of putting your money, right?
Yeah.
It might be a good way to transfer wealth to the next generation, But most of us are not in that place yet. We need to fund our own retirements. We need to take care of our kids' education. So that's my, you asked me my perspective on it.
Yeah.
That's my perspective.
And I was also reading, and I was saying that the premium can be very high, up to like almost 2,000 a month. The other thing is, like, you can be denied if you have an underlying medical issue.
Yes.
The other thing,
Yes.
it takes about 5 to 7 years to break even for you to start even making anything.
Yes.
And the other thing that
because insurance is front loaded. So
yes,
people may say that mutual funds are fees, but many of them. Ooh, okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah,
you can hear me, but I can put another one on. The main thing with insurance is that it's front loaded. Okay, so at the end of the day, anybody who is giving you a return on investment is going to charge you fees. Okay, that is a fact. That's the same thing I'm saying. The idea of no risk does not make sense. Okay, so everybody who is giving you a return, on investment is going to have some fees. All right, they have to make money. Okay, so the difference is that your mutual fund and those other funds might be not necessarily front loaded. Insurance is front loaded. So and that's why insurance agents make their money up front. That's why it's front loaded. So if I take 50,000 and I go and give an insurance man to invest it for me, about 15,000 will be gone into commissions and whatever. So the only investment they're investing for me is like what, $35,000. So now, as I said, invest in what you know. But this idea that there's no other option is not true. It's not true.
Yeah. And maybe people like Walt Disney, they can afford to pay a premium of about 3,000 a month. So I think it's for rich people, like really, but not like average, people. And I don't know.
And I'll tell you, even the very wealthy, as I told you, I mean, I know portfolios of 50 million, 10 million, 20 million, 100 million. Those portfolios are not growing their money with insurance. And this, they really could. They only use insurance as a way of hedging against taxes, estate taxes. So if that person who has $100 million is not growing their money through insurance, why should I? I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's good. It seemed very clear like you're not a proponent of these particular subject, and it's okay. It's good to have all these dissenting views when it comes to these subject matters, which is very important for people like us who can, just watch these shows and discern what is best for us. And I think before I give you a final thought, I think you need to come in about 1 week if it's okay. We need to talk about the mutual funds, how to invest on those, municipal bonds, and somebody else asked about the money markets. I think those are very good topics that we can dive into, and they can give our viewers like how to save or diversify their portfolio when it comes to different type of saving. Like this week, I wanted to talk about retirement. Maybe next week you can move about the bonds. Not so much into stocks. I really don't believe in stocks, but the bonds, I think there's some very good bonds there, which are not taxable. So I think
why do you not believe in stocks? You do know that majority of the wealth in this nation is held in stock market.
I don't like the volatility of it. I think it's just you can woke up tomorrow morning, you're a millionaire. The next day, you can be broke and you can lose a lot of money. I don't have, like I say, I'm very risk averse. I don't want to just put a lot of money into a place that in a very risky investments. The bonds, I agree with them, money market, mutual funds, stuff like that. But when it comes to bonds, I think what I would say I need more.
But you realize mutual funds are invested in the stock market, and you do have mutual funds that are invested in bonds or invested in the stock. So, but yes, I agree with you. Picking individual stocks does not make sense. I agree with you. Okay, individual stocks for a person does not make sense. But investing in mutual funds, even in a 401k or ETFs as well. But we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes,
I think
but I
I'm
don't
gonna,
know that we'll do it within 1 week because I have that other series I'm doing. Let's do
we
it in
can
a
do
couple
it
of
after.
weeks.
Let's do it after. When is the event? Are you guys having Queen's Night this month or next month?
No, we're not doing the usual Queen's Night. We decided to break it out into segments, and we're
Okay.
doing some age related. But I'm doing the series on mental health. So let's meet in
Yes.
2
Yeah, I saw that.
weeks. I
Yes.
can do, yeah. So let's meet in 2 weeks because that's also kind of taking my time and I need to prepare.
Yes. Yeah.
But if people would send you the questions they have, then I don't mind answering them.
Yeah. That's very good. I think it's a very good show. You did very well, and I thank you so much. I'm gonna give you final thoughts about this whole topic. Anything you want to say, this is your time to say it right now, so we can finish these broadcasts. I think we have gone about 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is,
Oh my goodness! I
yeah,
didn't even realize it was going to that long.
it,
Okay,
it was
yes.
very
So
interesting. Yeah, very good, very informative session. So, final thoughts.
thank you, George, again for having me. And I like the idea, as you said, of having different viewpoints. Okay,
Exactly.
so having different viewpoints because we all have different perspectives. I said I am I'm coming from a different space, from the and so and as a CPA and as a middle of the role um, financial planner who doesn't have any allegiance to any products or
Exactly.
any products. I don't have allegiance to any products whatsoever.
Yes.
Um, in terms of and ultimately actually I'm looking to get my certified financial planner certification because I do want to be able to offer that service to people where you can sit down and just really look at um, help people make plans, financial plans for their lives, create that vision, and also decide where they're going to put their money in an informed way. So in terms of I think the bottom line is this. What I would say is that start somewhere. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. But I would say stop scattering. We all have to stop scattering. We really scatter as
Mhm.
diasporans because somebody comes to us and says this is the best thing, so we run there. Somebody else comes and says this is the best thing, and we run there. It's important to stop scattering. It's important to step back and decide what do you want and have a clear vision of where you want to go. If you're a family, sit down with your family and make that decision. Once you get that clarity, it actually it's much easier to actually, it's so much easier to start taking steps, right? And this is the thing. The way to eat a big pig is by one bite. So don't let the big picture overwhelm you. Just figure out where can I start. I just showed you that for a little bit of money you can help your kids. Not even the $500 is for 300 units. 100 units, 25 units are like. Let me just give you the number.
Sure.
25 units is $44. $44 a month. You can buy 25 units. 100 units is $177 a month. You could say this year you're going to buy 100 units. We're going to start with 100 units. Next year, let's add 50. And, now next year it's $200 a month or whatever. But my point is you can start somewhere. If it's in terms of your retirement, you can start somewhere. This is the one other thing I also want to say. We need to make a shift. One of the things that overwhelms us is that um, when you see Kenya has a very different investment perspective. They believe in getting a lump sum. I got a lump sum, I bought some land. I got a lump sum, I got an apartment. That is how they see investments, and or at least the ones I talk to. And so for us, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed. You're here in diaspora, you're like, I don't have 10 million to put towards an apartment. But it doesn't have to be that way. Start where you are. You get a paycheck every week, every other week. Start looking at that paycheck. Budget. Start having a budget so that you have a discipline in what you're doing, you'll be surprised. There's a lot of money in your paycheck to do the things that you want to do if you start scattering into things that really don't mean a lot to you. This is a thing. If you understand and if you realize that if I don't drive a BMW and I drive a Ford Focus, I might be able to help my kid go to school, or I might be able to have some money. You might be willing to shift. You might drive a BMW this year, but next year you might decide, hey, I have some financial goals. So I'm selling the BMW, I'm getting a Ford Focus, and so that I can have that difference in that, I was making a car payment of 700. I can bring it down to 300. Now I have $400 that I can now start putting towards the things that matter towards my future, whether it's my children or my own retirement. So there's a lot of money in your own paycheck. You just have to start prioritizing based on the vision you have for your life.
Wow. Thank you so much. And this mark the end of this topic, retirement. Thank you to you. I'm thinking I might bring another topic. The topic that I have in mind, I'm looking for experts on parenting pre-teenagers and teenagers. And that is a topic I'm going to delve into maybe coming week. I'm looking for the experts to tackle that subject. Thank you so much for the great work you do in our community, and a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. We appreciate you so much for joining Prudential tonight. For that, everybody who watched, who tuned in, thank you so much. Love you from the bottom of my heart. For right now, have a good night.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Have a good night.
Alrighty. Mm-hmm. Bye.
So do I get to use?